when I'm
Always ready. Always down for a good time.
always down for a good time.
What's happening? Welcome, everyone.
Every time we do that, I want to say, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Big Blue House. I think I said that once.
It's weird. You and I didn't even have a chance to really talk this week, or even pregame
Nope.
a lot. So it's kind of interesting. I know things were a little dicey down here in Central and South Florida this week, and
Yeah, I've seen some of the images and all that. I mean, somebody was asking me, and I'm like, this is going to be. I think financially, it's going to be way worse than Katrina. You know,
yeah, what
it's going to
surprised
be. I think the death count. I don't know how many people died for Katrina, but I think that the people that perished will be more for Katrina.
you? Yeah.
But the devastation, I think, is
I want to say we're up in the 70s now. I could be off by about 30, though. It could be in the 40s, the official count.
yeah.
I mean, we had a 15-foot storm surge in some areas, but yeah, there was a lot more. You know, I know Katrina hit a larger area with some, the Ninth Ward and areas, but
Uh-huh.
I mean, that Fort Myers, Naples, Sarasota, Bradenton area is also Marco Island and
Mhm.
Sebastian. That's a really high dollar area as well too. So that's going to be kind of. This would not surprise me for it to not be the most expensive hurricane on record.
Oh, absolutely. And so it was 1,833 people that perished for Katrina. So I,
Wow.
I don't think that you'll come that Ian will be anywhere near that, but
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
nonetheless,
the evacuation order went out kind of late because, it was, let's say that here's the Gulf Coast of Florida, and it was, and this knuckle is Tampa, and all the models said, okay, it's coming in here in Tampa and going to really mess Tampa up. Well, next thing you know, it was 100 miles lower, and it came in, at Fort Myers instead,
yeah,
and they didn't give the evacuation order super super quick, but it was still. I mean, if you're in the cone of uncertainty, and of course the liberal media is trying to spin that as being DeSantis's fault, and even FEMA saying, yeah, no, that's not. And if you were in that cone, and you can go to the FEMA maps, and it'll show the red areas that need.
mhm,
This is the coastal flooding that needs to be evacuated.
yeah.
And it should, it should.
Well, I mean, we were supposed to book a room in Miami coming up this month,
Mm.
and I didn't book it because I'm like, I don't know what's going to be, so I need to go ahead and try to go ahead and get a room, see if I can find one. I don't know how the rentals are going right now,
Yeah.
so we'll see how that goes. But
Are you going to PWNA?
no, PWNA is that this
No,
month?
not PWNA. Yes, PWNA.
Yeah,
PWNA.
PWNA. Yeah,
That's coming up here pretty soon. And I better get my button gear. We're doing Bo and I are doing the HOA class
yeah.
for the
That's on
members.
what, the 18th?
I'm literally pulling this up on the iPad right now.
The 18th. And it's in Orlando, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I get in on the 20th, but I'll be going to Miami. That's the reason.
Let's see here. Power Clean. And that's a good event.
It is. It's a very good event.
Convention overview. And I like, everybody with the PWNA that I ever met, very respectful, very professional.
Yeah.
Most of the people. There's a couple of utter douchebags. October 12th to the 15th. So that's coming up really soon, actually.
Yeah. You'll be out of there before you know it.
But it's a fantastic event, and also for anybody who's watching that not familiar, the PWNA is the largest true not-for-profit trade association that represents its members to the government. And the beautiful thing about PWNA with they also give a lot of certification courses that are truly backed by a not-for-profit, so you can say, yeah, this certification matters. And but any certification matters if that's what you market yourself with, that you've done this education. But the house washing, I know I wrote, and along with your assistance too, the house washing. There's a roof cleaning certification. There's a flat work. You got Michael Draper in there. If you can't make it to that, you also have, spraywashpro.com, and then we've got Michael Draper's class there, as well as it's over at PWNA as well.
Right. Exactly.
Michael's over on the East Coast, Melbourne area, I believe. Melbourne, Michael. Y'all got smacked around with the category 1 to 2 over there.
Yeah. Well, good evening, Spray Wash family. Yeah. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about perception, and some of this comes from a post that maybe some of y'all read, maybe some of y'all didn't read, but we'll go over some parts of it. But another thing is something that happened with me. I hired a company to do some work for me, and they did the work, and it took them way too long to get it done, but they had some personal things going on, and I wasn't in a big rush to get the job done, so I was kind of leaving it alone. And when I noticed some things moving around, because their company is just down the street from where I live, and anyhow, long story short of it is that I received the invoice from them, and the invoice was twice the amount that we had discussed and that I had approved. Okay. So the reason that perception gets into this is because, I brought it up to her. Hey, I think you made a mistake in your invoicing. And then she said, no, I did not make a mistake. And then she went on to say that I sent you an invoice 32 days ago and you viewed the invoice, which means that you accepted the terms. Okay. Which that's not how that goes. Just because somebody views something, which I did not. We had already had a discussion about how I was not receiving her emails. Anyhow, so perception, right? I think when you look at perception, first, you should start off with the client's perception, okay? Because this is a long-term game, not a short-term game, okay? So my perception was you're overbilling me by a large amount, and I'm asking. So then she replies back, well, because I said I'm not paying that amount. It's not going to happen. There's no way that you're going to double my invoice. It's not going to happen. Anyhow, so she said, well, that's fine. Just so you know, we've locked up. So it's a trailer I was having worked on, and she said we put a lock in it because things are getting stolen in the neighborhood, yet it had been sitting there for 2 months without. So her thing is that her perception was that I was going to come steal my trailer because of that. So it went on from there. But the whole point of that was that she was not even remotely looking at the perception from the client. And what ended up happening in the long run was that she's lost a permanent client. I will never do business with that company again, ever, ever, never, all because of her and her actions and reactions. And that's where it transitions back into the post that was here on the Spray Wash Academy, where it was about a clip flyer being thrown. And the clip flyer got a negative reaction from one of the people in the neighborhood, right? Yeah. And so they gave it
was a clip flyer and not a rock flyer.
I'm pretty sure it was a clip flyer. Let me go back and check. But and
I'll tell you what. Let's actually reset a little bit more even. For those of you who are not familiar with the rock flyers, clip flyers, or somebody in this industry who used to they would literally put flyers in a Ziploc baggie and put a rock in there and have their salesperson drive through neighborhoods and sling them out into people's driveways. So you have a flyer in a Ziploc sandwich bag with a rock in it and tossing it out, and they would do $30,000 a month or so. Then I believe Pat Clark with Precision tended to, and I think Brandon may have, I'm not sure, Brandon, I don't know if Brandon did or not, but I know Pat did. He went and honed it. He would take a rack card style flyer, fold it in half, and actually put a chip clip or a spring clip on there with their name and number printed on it. So you're actually giving something of value there, and use that. And that gives it a little bit of weight. You could sail it out of your car. You know, I mean, you
Mhm.
say your sale, and again, he would do $30,000-$40,000 a month. And that was his salespeople's one of their major way of actually getting business for their company.
Yeah, I think
So
Pat Clark said
that's
he did
what
like thousands of those. I mean, thousands upon thousands, like 15,
there's that.
20,000 at a time. Pat Clark.
Yeah. No, I said about 30,000 or so a month. I
Yeah.
mean, that's so. So for those of you not familiar, that's what we're talking about when we talk about rock flyers or clip flyers. So anyway, go ahead and finish.
Yeah, and I did look it up. It is clip flyers that he was specific. And to me, and I think you and I agree on this, where clip flyers I think are better than rock flyers from the
Mhm.
aspect of the trash side. I think that, if I were going to do something like that, I would throw clip flyers versus rock flyers. Um, just because I think you're giving, like you said, you're kind of giving something of value. People are going to bend over and pick up the clip versus picking up, the rocks. They'd probably just throw them in the trash. Yeah, I think you have a better chance of them going in the trash, that kind of a thing. But
Right.
so the whole point of it was that the contractor got a negative review, and he was asking for advice on what would you do if you got a negative review. And
And
so my
the negative review was they throw trash, they litter in your neighborhood or something like that,
Yeah,
right? One star.
exactly. Well, let me go back. I'll actually read it. The negative review was leaves trash all over the neighborhood. That was all it said. Just leaves trash all over the neighborhood. And so he was looking for guidance or advice on, how you would handle that sort of thing. And so my personal view is that you would apologize for something like that. And that was perceived by some. Well, the thing is, in this industry, I think we're split almost. I mean, I want to say there's probably, and I'm making up the number, 60% versus 40%. 60% that say I would never do that; it's trash, and I'm not getting
Right.
involved in that. And 40% that say, yeah, I would do something like that.
Yeah.
But it's how you handle those negative reviews, and I think that there was a little bit of disconnect where one of the persons that were, the disconnect was with was about. And look, let me be clear here that I'm not saying I'm right and that the other person was wrong, or that the other person was right and I was wrong. That's not. It's your business to run as you see fit. Just that I think you're alienating a lot of people by being aggressive or by not. So his thing was, why would you apologize to somebody that's being an ass
Right.
and left you a bad review? Well,
I mean, it's your business. Run that bitch in the ground if you want to.
exactly. But the point of it for me was that this person wasn't necessarily just being an ass. They were upset that you left trash in their yard. Whether you view it as trash or not has no bearing on life. It is how
And
your customer perceives that is a piece of trash. It's the
perception
same
is
thing with me and
reality.
my trailer.
Absolutely. The perception is reality.
Mhm.
Um,
It's the same thing, going way back when you were asked to do a class on Facebook, right? And what was that? What did you end up doing when you did the class? It was not about Facebook marketing. It was about what? It was about
about how to act on Facebook, what your
you are what
profile
you
should
show.
be, what your, I mean, don't have dirty pictures on there. Don't have, I mean, I'm probably a lot racier now that I don't have spray wash anymore. And I have a lot more fun with some of the memes that I post out there than I did before. Because I mean, people. I mean, and I'm blessed. I mean, I have so many followers. And typically we'll have anywhere from 75 to 150 reacts. Every time I post a status out there. People don't realize that I had back in my spray wash days when I was marketing my company, and I wasn't marketing it to other pressure washing companies, although in some ways I was, but I'm marketing it to consumers and get them to follow me and get people to share my statuses. And it would be funny, 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 wash. Funny, 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 wash. Funny, 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 wash. And people got caught up on the funny part. Now I'm really just kind of funny out there. I don't even use it to market, power wash store at this point. But for the first 8 years that I was on Facebook, it was literally used as a marketing tool. And you're doing this to create engagement on there. And it's not just about the, and so part of my engagement was going to my customers. And I know I'm getting a little bit sidetracked here, but at the same time, I'm not. Part of the engagement was something that it might be a slight, tiny bit racy, or it might have been me kind of poking a little bit of fun at my wife. But usually I was the one that was the butt of the joke on there. But my stuff was clean, my stuff was non-political, and my stuff wasn't pictures of girls and crop tops and pointy nipples going through fabrics and nothing nasty at all on there, because my customers, what I do, anything that I did with my name and spray wash on there is a direct reflection on my company and who I am.
Who you are, what you do, and their perception of you. And that's where part of this goes. And another thing, somebody else had posted in there, and I was trying to find it here because I don't remember who it was, and maybe they're on here. But one of the things about it that was even said is that, there are a lot of groups that you don't see. And one of those groups is, say it, Ray.
Which
the group
one?
that, oh man, it's not Angie's List. It's Nextdoor. So the Nextdoor app, right? Nextdoor, when it first came out, I mean, I didn't even know Nextdoor existed, right? It was for neighborhoods, and you had to live in that specific neighborhood. And once I got invited into Nextdoor, I found out all kinds of stuff that people were saying about my company. Luckily, it was all positive. So you have to remember on something like that there are these groups out there that are for those particular neighborhoods, and I am a member of several little local niche groups and where they talk about things and contractors and that kind of thing. And so
Doug, I was the same way. Whenever I finally did the and I had people tell me like, "Oh, you ought to get on Nextdoor." They were talking about you on Nextdoor. I was like, "What do you mean they're talking about me?" And I hadn't been a part of Nextdoor yet. And then I finally logged on, and I logged on personally, and then I got a business account with Nextdoor. And I realized we had a couple of hundred mentions on Nextdoor because people would say, "Hey, who should I use for pressure washing? Spray wash exterior cleaning, spray wash exterior cleaning." And I'm going back going, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me go back to this and do this." So I mean, and so
amazing.
But going back, so you are your social media, your Instagram, your
Twitter,
Facebook,
your
Twitter,
LinkedIn, all of them.
It's all, you either, if you don't want that to be, and hey, Doug, what's one of the things whenever somebody comes in and asks to be a part of Spray Wash Academy forum on Facebook, what do? If we don't know them, we go and we pull up their Facebook forum. And if they've got really nasty stuff on there, or they don't answer the questions, or, we let a lot of new people in here, but not all of them at all, because we wanted to keep this thing more veterans than new guys. And if they're just ridiculous on their
Facebook. That even goes into, if you look at some of the other groups that started, and they'll have 15, 20, 30,000 members like that. Trust me, we could have 70, 80, 90,000 members if we wanted.
Absolutely. We honestly, those weeks we turn down more than we allow in there,
Oh, absolutely.
And then you look at these groups with 15, 20,000 members, and it's the same 8 people asking the same 8 questions in group after group after group, and it's the same 20 people giving bad advice. But anyway, I digress. And I'm kind of posting these. I'm posting these up. Nextdoor is legit. Gene O'Neill, he was a big user of Nextdoor, and we're going to go through these comments a little bit more. I'm just kind of acknowledging them. But the Nextdoor, amazing thing to do if you do it right, and if you get in there to I think Gene even talked about that, last night or last week as the hurricane was coming, and going, look. Right. Get in here. We're offering these services. We can help you with this. You're not advertising. Better yet, you become an expert on things. People start tagging you to comment on things, and you let people know. And it's not, and you should call us because we're better than the guy. No,
you don't. There's none of that. You don't need to.
Whenever somebody is down there talking about, they had their roof pressure washed, and all their plants died, and what should they do? That's where you should step in and talk about, hey, I took this class, this plant and property protection class, and here's what's happening to your plants.
Become the expert.
Every gallon of bleach has 1.25 pounds of salt in there, and they're either accidents do happen by all means, and your company should be addressing your concerns on there, but they also should have done the basics to protect this and that and the other on there. So, and this is what you should be talking about on the social media platforms.
And that's what's going to create the perception of you being the professional versus the other guy that killed everything off.
Anybody we ever hired at Spray Wash, guess what? We went in there and pulled up a Facebook profile if we could find them. If we could find them on there, we pulled up a Facebook profile on it. Your customers are doing the same thing to you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's where a lot of this comes from. I mean, saying that I'm soft on that, I was soft for a very specific reason. And that reason was the customer was right. Okay. And their perception was that this was trash. And
perception is reality.
If I'm throwing trash in your yard accidentally, on purpose, whatever, I should, as a person, I should apologize for that. That's how I personally view it. That's how my company would view it. And so since that person saw it as trash, and you can say, well, I don't see it that way. Well, that's great. But if you look at all of the comments, I'm going to say 60% of the people see it as trash. Again, I'm making the number up. So, you look at that. It's the same thing with, what did I say about, the elections and all that, where, why would you alienate 50% of the voting population? Why would you do that? As a business owner, there are some things. That's why they always say, stay away from politics, stay away from religion, stay away from sexual genders and orientations nowadays, and all that kind of stuff, because you're going to alienate a large, majority, or not majority, but a large portion of.
And your areas may be different. I mean, God knows if you're living down there where Michael Ovens is living. I mean, you're Trump Central on Palm Coast, the Space Coast area, in that area. You start doing that here in Tallahassee. Leon County and Gaston County were like the two blue dots in an oasis of red. You're going to really start pissing people off whenever you start putting I literally had one of my competitors here, and I don't want to call him a competitor, but I still remember his profile picture was Donald Trump, a Herculean Donald Trump, putting literally the Trump sign, the flagpole, through Hillary's head. And I'm thinking, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for helping my business grow.
Yes.
I don't think that a lot of people even realize that the things that they, not only what you have on your business page, but what you have on your personal page, how you react as a business and how you react as a person, they go hand in hand when people are
100%.
Looking at, unless you're Nike and they don't know who the owner is.
Us or the other moderators, gone in there and looked at me. Yeah, this guy seems like a douchebag. Don't want him, And you literally even see the other comments that they've made in place. Like, yeah, he's an argumentative ass, or he just asked the same question over and over again. No, sorry, you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I'm digressing on this, but going to back, again, I'm going to say perception is reality. I cannot stress that enough. So this person, and right or wrong, I am not going to say, please don't think anybody think that I'm saying flip flyers are bad. If it's what you do, rock it. Have at it. We're not here to really make the judgments of what works and what doesn't, because Doug and I will both tell you everything works, nothing doesn't. And I mean the double entendre on here. If you just get out and do anything works, nothing doesn't. If you do nothing,
it's not going to work.
If you do anything, if you just do anything, it's going to work. It might not get you your ideal customer, but you know what? Hey, does pressure washing signs work? Yeah, they do. Is it going to get you the
some areas work better than others?
Is it going to get you the kind of customers that you and I had? No, it's not. does
Well,
does
even
carrying
even in that thread, somebody had asked me about, well, what would you do in a case like that? Like, would you, if you were throwing clip flyers and you wanted to continue to throw clip flyers, what would you do? Well, I think in a case like that, I mean, stay away from maybe her block if you would, but
yeah,
continue on. If that's what you do
yeah,
that. Just try
100%.
to get 100 positive reviews to wipe out the negative reviews that you're going to get based on that.
Here's
Go
exactly
for
what
it.
I would do. I would be on there and I would say, and I would be respectful. I would respond back to that comment and I'd say,
Mhm.
"Dear Mrs. Johnson, dear Mr. Johnson, I apologize that you were offended by our marketing. This is a regular practice that we do. This is actually why we wind up putting our small 6x3 flyer on a chip clip or a magnetic clip so we can actually give you something of value that you could use and not consider this just litter."
Yeah, I'm happy to come pick it
I
up.
am I am so sad. I am so sorry that we went and disturbed you with this. I'll be happy to pick this up, and I'll make sure that none of our salespeople ever drop this off in your driveway again. Please accept our humblest apologies. I would
Mhm.
take it, I would own it, and I would respond to it, and I'd let them know.
You don't have to say that you're never going to do it again or anything to
No,
that nature. Just
you take
respond
no,
in
no,
a
not they never
positive
do it again.
fashion.
You take their address off the list.
Yeah, and respond in a very positive fashion,
Not
and
you're a douchebag, you're
keep
a
doing it.
Karen, screw you. No, no, don't. I mean,
Yeah.
own it and accept responsibility. You have offended someone, but that lets everybody else know that, okay, this
This is
guy,
why you're doing it. It's just a form of
right,
advertising.
it's advertising, you
Mhm.
know?
And if
Oh my
if you're not
goodness.
happy with it, then they'll come back and pick it up from you. Not a
We have
problem.
got Australia checking in with us that must be nice
Yes,
morning.
Tim. How are you?
Our morning over there. So
There you go.
I want to get and read a couple of the comments back here. Let's see here. Need on degreaser training. I agree.
That's
Said,
something. Yeah, we need. That's something that should be worked on.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. You're building for today or for the future.
That's something that I put in the post because, that's something that you should consider when you're
Right.
responding to reviews is, are you building your business for today? Are you building it for tomorrow? Are you working for bear money or are you working for caviar money? That
Right.
kind of
Or are you working to build a business that you sell later on and retire?
exactly.
Happy to see you guys touching the subject. See some throwing flowers and rocks tied to them. People yard. I think the rocks are a horrible idea. I mean, it might have been novel and unique 20 years ago,
Mhm.
10 years ago. As far as if you're not doing a clip, at least don't do a rock in a sandwich bag. That
You know
really
what I
would.
would do instead of rocks? Think about it. I mean, cost you a little bit more money, and I get thinking about it. I don't think I would do it, but if you're going to do the baggy, I would put little candies or something in there, something of value in there that you're
Yeah.
throwing out. Thinking about it, then the hot sun melts them and it becomes a mess.
And I mean, it is the trash type marketing anybody could use. If I was to ever do it, I would literally have two guys doing it, and I'd stop at every house. I'd either have somebody. I would literally reach out and drop it right by the mailbox post
Mhm.
to where it almost looks like maybe I put it on the mailbox, but it fell off, and then that
Mhm.
way it's also not illegal. Or I would have the two people driving, and I would literally send one up, run up there, put it on the door, run back to the car. Let's go to the next house.
And I don't remember what the outcome of this was, but I think that you can hang something on a mailbox and it's not illegal. I think,
You
right?
can't put it in, and you
You
can't
can't put
hang
it
it.
in, but you could put it
You
like
can
on
hang
the
it
post
from
or
the
whatever.
post. You can hang it from the post if I remember
I think that was
correctly.
the case. And
And
that's, I think, would be a better way to go about it, even is to take it on a rubber band and put it on the post. And because then they're going to see it, I mean, I think it has more value and merit. The problem with that is would take so much longer to do than just going out and throwing your clip flyers or your rock flyers kind of a thing. So I get it, but at the same time, you know, and again, so Brenda had asked earlier, I saw it in, I don't know if you've gone past or what, but she had asked about Nextdoor and how do you see neighborhoods, or how do you get into neighborhoods that you don't see or you don't know about? Well, you kind of don't. You have to be invited. I think it might have changed now some, but it used to be when they start out, you had to be invited to be into it, or you had to live in that area and or that neighborhood, and then you had to request to be part of it. They would send you something in the mail, verify that you live there, blah blah blah, and that's how you would get in. But then it changed, and when somebody would start talking about your company, you might get invited to respond. And so it's all about that. Once you get inside, then you start getting notifications about, hey, you were told, your company was mentioned in this area or whatever. But you have to be, I think, recommended in order to respond. And I could be wrong on that, but I think that's how it goes.
So I'm sitting here actually at USPS.com. No part of a mail receptacle may be used to deliver any matter not bearing postage, including items or matter placed upon, supported by, attached to, hung from, or inserted into a mail receptacle. Any mailable matter.
The post is not the receptacle.
But then it says supported by, attached to, hung from. Well, is it supported by the, I don't know, but any mailable matter not bearing postage and found to subscribe is subject to the same postage as would be paid if carried by mail. So technically you could go throw stamps on them and toss them out. It does not govern what can be placed in a mail slot on your door. If they want to put a flyer in your mail slot, they can do so. Can I affix? You are not allowed to affix anything to them, including flyers, signs, missing. That's a postal box. So, I mean, really, if you want to go into that thing, just don't do it. I mean, if you want to put something beside it, okay, but still, you're flirting with the legality.
Drop it under it.
You don't want somebody pissed off, and then they stuck stuff in my mailbox and things like this. So Michael Shane Lowe was saying Facebook is half his revenue. Nextdoor has done very well for our business.
Yeah, when we first found out about Nextdoor, I mean, I was simply shocked at how much good stuff there was about Cajun Soft Wash on the Nextdoor things, and we did very well with Nextdoor.
Well, Wes, sorry we waited for you as long as we could. Do you see comments in Nextdoor if you don't live in the areas you clean?
That's
Yes,
the one that she was asking about.
You will see that if you sign up with a business account on there. You will see where you've been tagged. But that's two different accounts.
Right.
I'll tell you what I did have. I had a huge problem. And if you sign up for Nextdoor, make sure you sign up using a different email address than you do for your business. Like if you have, Brenda's Cleaning at brendascleaning.com, sign up there, and then Brenda Farley at brendafarley.com over there, and get two different email addresses. Always had a really, really hard time with Nextdoor differentiating between the same email address and is this a personal account? Am I using this as a personal or am I using this as business?
And they will consider it as business if you don't, if you don't set it correctly.
Michael's guys have been doing lots of historical cleaning and been charged 3 and 4 times the normal amount. People don't even flinch. 100%. I've always
everything's going
this over and over and over again that prostitution and pressure washing have something in common, that the specialty acts pay a lot more.
This even, Michael, that it even actually ties into tonight's topic of perception. And what I mean by that is that when you go to the grocery store and you see a gallon of milk is $7, and you see a loaf of bread is $3, and you see a specialty bread is $5, and you see all these prices are increasing, it's the perception that everything has gone up, right? Which it's actually not even perception, it's truth, right? So it's easier to sell at the higher tickets now because perception is everything has gone up. The price of everything, labor has gone up, chemicals have gone up, everything has gone up, and everybody has that same perception of what is happening in today's market. So if you are worried about raising your prices, now is probably the best time to do it, because the perception of the world, if you would, at this point, is that everything has gone up. The prices of everything have risen.
I know a ton of companies that were putting gas surcharges on there whenever gas was spiking up
Oh,
there
absolutely.
$5 a gallon, you know? So Thomas, I don't follow the motto, the customer is always right. Thomas, I 100% agree. The customer, actually quite often the customer is absolutely freaking clueless about what we do.
Nothing wrong.
The customer may be the largest moron in the world. However, the customer also controls the review button. And what you have to do is respond back to the review logically, humbly, professionally, and not get into a fight with them. And a lot of times you can sit there and let the world see that this person is an absolute Karen out there. No offense to any Karens. But you know, let it play out, you know, as it will. We had a couple of, I mean, I always remember one of the only like 1-star review I ever had was somebody saying I was the rudest person in the world. And the review actually came in whenever my family and I were in Disney World. And I responded back and I said, it was, you know, I'm sorry. This, you're, you know, and I even went and pulled his history on Google. And I was like, this is really, really suspect, because you don't have any other reviews. So this makes me think that you're probably one of my competitors that's angry and upset, because during the day that you said this happened, I wasn't even in Tallahassee. I was.
We had a negative review, and this is something, again, that you have to, when you get a negative review, you know, look at the whole thing, because in this case, okay, they knew what was going on, blah blah blah. But like with Ray, that's something different. I had one that the same thing. I researched the guy, right? He had done, I think it was 14 reviews that night. And those 14 reviews were between, and I'm going to make it up now because I don't remember, but they were between like midnight and 4 a.m., somewhere around in there. He was in Texas. And if I remember correctly, it was Tyler, Texas. And he went to several different soft wash companies and left 1-star negative reviews on these soft wash companies. Plus, he went to a couple of restaurants and, you know, that kind of a thing. And so when I responded in a very positive and professional manner. Well, unfortunately, this is a scam. And I said, this is like a scammer or something to that nature. And I laid it all out. And you know, this was negative reviews that were done between this time and this time. I didn't bash the person. I didn't whatever. I laid the story out of what happened and that he had left several negative reviews. We had never worked for that company, and the rest of our reviews speak for ourselves. So it's not going to affect me because of that response, and people could look and see, yes, this is all true.
Absolutely. 100% agree. You know, I had one on I got a negative, you know, review. I got a 1-star on a power wash store, and, you know, I went in, the guy never answers his phone, and I went in there and I told him, and I said, look, I said, I'm sorry. I said, it's just me. And whenever I'm with a customer, I don't answer my phone because I'm getting into very technical information. And by the way, I noticed that, you know, out of like 15 reviews that you've left, like 12 of them have been 1-star reviews for people. So honestly, I don't think we'd be a good match as partners together in a business relationship. And honestly, I feel like I've dodged a bullet by not getting your business. Mm-hmm. And I was able to say that nicely and respectfully, and I came across much nicer, honestly, than he did. You know,
and that goes to the whole thing of, you know, one of the comments that was made was about, you know, not every customer is your customer, and the customer, you know, like you're saying, the customer's not always right. You know, that kind of, all very, very true. But you also have to remember that not every contractor is my contractor, meaning that the homeowner has that same perception as you have about, I don't want that particular customer. and they have that same perception of, I don't want this guy that's throwing trash in my yard.
Right.
So
True.
that's where it's a
Yeah.
balancing act between them, though
Right.
you're completely right. Not every customer is my customer.
I mean, let's
And
face
not
it.
every
and
customer.
I love what Brenda's saying here. Send them brownies. You know, send Jim. You can do that. You can do that. If you can figure out who it is, you know, send them brownies to apologize. Very absolutely 100%. You can click on that button on send Jim, bam, it's delivered to their door for like.
And then you get a 1-star review. I'm a diabetic and they sent me brownies.
You
Then
killed
you know
my,
you're dealing with a Karen.
you killed my daughter who has a chocolate allergy. Oh man. On the rare occasion a customer lets me know that I lost a bid or I find nice and offer my sit. Absolutely. Always lose graciously. We even did that in one of our classes, Doug, where we literally got up there in front and said, always lose graciously, because sometimes that, you know, what's that old saying, that the bitterness of poor quality lasts a lot longer than the sweetness of a good price does.
Of lowest price,
you never know when somebody's, and you could pick up your ball and go home like a spoiled brat.
The bitter taste of a
lose out on price.
Installation.
That is your time to turn on the charm. Well, golly, you know, if you're not happy with this service, please let us know. We'd love the chance to help you in the future.
Absolutely. Kill them with kindness. I mean, yeah, and you don't have to kiss their butts. You don't have to do all that.
So technically, palm tree.
Professional.
Technically, palm tree. What they're saying, that would be an illegal thing to do. I mean, illegal is such a wrong word, but against USPS regulation. Close HOA.
They're such a finely run organization.
Okay, here we go. Closed an HOA job from property manager calling about us throwing clip flyers. My apologies. I was trying to help your residents with current HOA violations. By the way, I noticed your sidewalks needs cleaning. Can we send you a bid? Bingo.
That's awesome.
And I'm sure you did not do, and I don't know who it is because it's showing up as Facebook, but you probably didn't go, yeah, well, you give me a bid on your sidewalk because they're nasty as crap too. I'm guessing whoever this is like, you probably did that very humbly and very nicely. And yeah, you're right. You can take these negatives and turn them. You literally could be
this is exactly what I was saying.
You could be so honey sweet on your response to that negative 1-star review that literally anybody that reads it assumes that person's the biggest jerk in the world for leaving you a 1-star review.
Oh, excuse me.
Yep. Hole punch my cards on rubber band, put it through the mailbox flag. Again, according to USPS, bad. But again, you know, I mean, it's a calculated risk on here. You know,
what I just had a weird thought. What about, and again, this might take a little bit more time, but I think you could actually do this in a good way. I'm thinking about the little, you know, red flags that you use to mark things. You know what I'm talking about? You can get a bunch of them. That I wonder if you took those and you had your logo printed on them, right? And then you took and you rubber band a flyer to them and you went by and just stuck them in the yards.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because like it's kind of cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. Throw a dart and have the dart hit the wood post. Boom.
Clip flyers can be handbills and informational. It can be distributed like the free newspaper in your driveway. Freedom of the press, not restricted activity. I would stay away from mailboxes and keep it in the driveway. I mean, again, Josh, I don't disagree with you at all. It's one of the things that I always felt really, really weird and creepy about, you know, and where I probably couldn't get 1,000 done a day, I could damn well do 400 houses, you know, taking my flyers and going up and putting them on the front porch. So, but again, I mean, it's not, as Doug and I say, it's never Doug and I's job to sit here and tell you, well, that's not correct. It is our job to tell you what does chemically and what does landscaping wise. As far as marketing, again, I go back to
it's your job. It's your business.
I mean, everything works. Nothing doesn't. I mean, as long as you get out there and work it, you know, something's going to work for you, you know, and there's been too many people that have done amazing, you know, gotten great bids off of Facebook. There are people that are Facebook masters. There's people that have lost their butt on. I still remember, he may be watching tonight, but there's a young man who's become a very good friend of mine. I love him to death. Comes into the store, all the time. And I remember he called me up in earnest a couple of years ago and said, "Hey, I went and took this class from some guys that are well known on YouTube, and I'm just floundering. Would you mind?" And I said, "I'd love to." Put him on my referral list. And he always laughed, and he said, "You know what? Whenever you sold your company, the single largest, best return source of business I had was spray wash, So it took away, and this guy does a fair amount of business, and we sent him a lot of business out there. But he a great person. And where was I even going with this? Now all of a sudden that thought has just poof. Where was I at, Doug?
You're getting old, Ray.
Everything works, nothing doesn't.
Yeah.
But it was honing down his skills on there, and damn it, I really lost that thought. I hate that. So Michael's saying, but there was something about him that going on to that thing, because flyers can be. Oh, it was about the Facebook, and he was doing the whole. I remember the Facebook, because he goes, "Well, I'm doing Facebook," and I said, "Let me guess, you're offering a 10% discount for new customers." "Oh, you saw my ads?" No, that's what these idiots tell you to do with everything, and it's just like every Facebook ad out there for the pressure washers is 10% off for new customers. Remember what Everett, we were talking to Everett a couple weeks ago. "Hey, how about we do 10% off for old customers? Screw you guys. I'm going to give a discount to the guy that."
And that's Everett was saying that, when somebody asks him for a discount, and this is powerful stuff. When somebody asks him for a discount, he asks them, "Why should I give you a discount?"
Give you a discount. Yeah.
That this is the very first time that you're using our service. We're going to prove that we're worth it to you. We give our discounts to our returning customers. Okay. Yeah. So maybe next time when you come back, then we can talk about a discount at that time. But a discount is for our preferred customers, our repeat customers, that kind of thing. I think that's powerful stuff. And I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I agree.
And actually, I think that even perception, right? Perception is that shows a little bit of desperation if I have to, or I'm offering discounts and all that. That you're inviting. Well, if they're going to offer 10% off, they'll give me 15%. Right? Where does it stop?
20? So Joe's saying, when I'm sore and tired and have to bend over to pick up a flyer, I curse the company that threw it, making a mental note to never use them. My opinion is to never create a task for a customer. Michael's saying great advice on raising prices. And Jeff, EDDM, 100%. If you don't know what EDDM is, look it up.
I think EDDM will be a good bit more expensive, because of the cost of the actual mailing itself. But you're still paying for all the same stuff, if you would.
What about the return?
You have to value your time.
Yeah. Is it more expensive whenever you factor in the return? Because I know that on door hangers, we were typically about a 3 to 4% call on there, and then of those 3 to 4%, we closed about 50% of those. EDDM, I think they say it's about a 10% return on there, if I'm not mistaken.
EDDM, at least for us, was never like a 10% return. It was a 2% return. And again, I think it's you have to look at it's the same thing like he was saying. So the EDDM could actually be a better value when you look at your time and your fuel and all these other, and the negative review side of it, right? If you're going to be getting negative reviews from the throwing of it, again, it depends on the areas that you're in. Those negative reviews, I'd rather send the EDDM. But if I'm not, if people are receptive to it in your area, shoot, go for it.
And Perry, let's try again next week to do that. I always love to have you on and your expertise. And I know
something about him being in China or something like that.
Yeah, some weird thing like that. But I know we had some problems with hurricane last week, and we had to bag out there at the last minute.
ROI is key. Yeah, absolutely.
Customer tried to argue with me. Oxidation or paint was dirt or moved inside. I was hot. Came back to a roof wash. Had to completely doing research after I left. Yeah, 100%. Regular brownies. Is there an environmentally friendly good option to SH? Even I have to increase the price some. Yes, there is, and no, there isn't. And Perry's actually an expert on this. I'm glad I saw Perry's comment here just before that. You could use a quad. You could use a quaternary ammonium.
I think we're going to talk about this a little bit next week too. So
is it okay? So yeah, and Perry, you're an absolute. I know you've got the hypochlorous acid as well, but let's also talk about the good option to SH. Is it? I mean, quat sucks to use. I mean, I have been literally in pool screens filled with a 10% SH solution where it hurt. I mean, it literally physically hurt my lungs to breathe.
Your eyes, your ears, your everything.
And before I got smart and started using a respirator. But I'll tell you what, my lungs didn't hurt as much as whenever I was spraying quat sanitizing. Quat is not a friendly, nice, happy product to inhale on there. So, and plus you don't get the knockdown that you get with bleach out of it. You're going to have to get in there and actually use a little bit of pressure, more pressure than I'd like to use on a lot of things. But Perry, let's mark this down if you can do this next week and let's talk about it.
There are also your what's the other thing I'm trying to think of off the top? The peroxides and all that kind of stuff. But everything you have to remember there's trade-offs for it, right? Like you remember back in the day when calcium hypochlorite instead of sodium hypochlorite, calcium hypochlorite. Calcium hypochlorite is more plant friendly, but it has other problems associated with it. So are there other products out there? Yes, there are. However, everything has its trade-off points, and you have to figure out what the trade-off value is to you and to your customers. But there are other products out there.
Ozzy, thank you very much. I sure appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate you, Ozzy. Thank you so much. And this is one of the things, and I don't mean this to be, we try to be humble about this. I don't mean this to be a plug about the plant and property protection, but this is where, we love to sit there and talk about why we want you to understand the life cycle of bleach, why we want you to understand how bleach works, why you can sit here and talk to customers and understand, help educate them about what's actually going on. I mean, if you look at quaternary ammonium diethyl, blah, blah, I mean, it's got a bunch of multisyllabic big words in there. And you can say, so we could use this or we could use bleach. Which one? And here's what Clorox says about bleach. We give you the link to Clorox that says it's going to biodegrade. It's going to leave nothing but salt on there.
That's why it's always funny when sometimes people are talking about, well, we have to use something that's biodegradable or that is, and you're like, well, then that's bleach. Bleach is 100% biodegradable. So is gasoline, so is crude oil. It's just, you have to look at everything. An apple is biodegradable. Crude oil is biodegradable, right? But an apple isn't going to, fuel your car. So you have to look at what it is that you're doing and what the outcome is.
Uranium is biodegradable. I mean, the guys in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, what we dropped on them was biodegradable. I mean, it took, 50, 75, 100 years or so. But yeah, it is technically, well, I guess it's been 100 years yet. But yeah, it is biodegradable. And again, and Michael, yes, everything works, nothing doesn't. 100%, I mean, and I mean that in the market. And here's whenever I go back to the everything works, nothing doesn't. For guys that don't know me, before I got into the pressure washing industry before the Great Recession, I was a real estate developer, and I was also a realtor, owned a Remax franchise. I was also an instructor for the Realtor Institute. So the National Association of Realtors every state runs their own realtor degree. And it's basically like having a master's in real estate. You have to go through several months of coursework, but I was an instructor for the Realtor Institute. And I would go around. In fact, Fort Myers that just got hit was one of my favorite places to go to. We would also, as trainers, we would go to these very, very good, really, really good symposiums out there. And I remember this one that we paid, it was probably a $5,000 gig to go to. Hobbs Herder, who were advertising geniuses in personal marketing back in the early 90s, whenever this was first coming out. And I'm in a room full of several hundred people. Everybody's paid a lot of money to be there. And these are all multi-million-dollar producers. Now, keep in mind, we were I think our biggest year in real estate, we had sold, $13 million in real estate, which is not that much these days. But back in 1990, that was a lot whenever your average house price was $150,000. But there was a lady that was selling, like, she was in Phoenix, Arizona. And she said, and so we're going around and telling our secrets. What's your special weapon? And she said, I have a home warranty. And every realtor in the world has a home warranty. And so there was like this audible snicker whenever this lady stood up and said, I have a home warranty. And she said, no, you don't understand. And she pulled up a Homes and Land magazine. And back for you young guys, we used to not have these things called computers, and real estate was advertised in magazines with little 1-inch pictures. But she pulls up and she had like a 4-page thing in every Homes and Land magazine in her area. And it was about, you buy from Betty Sue Muck and Fudge, and you buy protected. New homeowners, you're going to get a home warranty so that if something goes wrong with your property, you're protected, not having out-of-pocket expenses. It changed a lot of people's minds, right? They're going, holy crap, she's got the simple thing in the world that every one of us have. All she's doing is telling her potential customers what she has. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go on that a step further. I never forget that Tanya was dressing me down one day about a bid that I had done. And this is even while we were still working out of the house. And she said, well, so-and-so, this customer went with ABC Company. And I said, right? And I said, well, why did they choose them? I said, well, ABC Company says they're going to tape and mask all of the door locks. They're going to tape and mask the electrical outlets. They're going to give the adequate property protection. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize we don't do that. And I said, well, Tanya, of course we do that. You'd be an idiot not to do that. She's like, well, guess what? Your estimate didn't say that you did that.
And theirs did.
I mean,
it is such a game changer, and it's why we push plant and property all the time. And
from that point,
from a sales standpoint and an execution standpoint, all of it is a very powerful tool. And I mean, quite frankly, I believe it is the reason that my company grew bigger and faster and better than the others around us. Very simply because I push those points 100%. When I'm talking to people, I'm letting them know. What is it that I always say, Ray? I feel sorry for you if you went before me, and I pity you if you went after me, because if you didn't educate that customer, and I get there, I'm going to educate them. You lose. If you come after me and you're not educated, you lose.
You're about to have somebody's about to eat your lunch, Yep. Would you trust me more if I charged you less? Absolutely, Gene, Dave brings up a great point. Drop flip flyers right next to the mailbox. And that's, before I even said that, if I was going to do that, that's exactly what I would do. Ching, right there beside it. Only speak about our areas. Flip flyers do work with care where they're dropped. Some guys are lazy.
So, Dave, I'm curious if you feel like, because, that's all, in the Patrick Clark realm of things, right? So, Dave, I'm curious if that means that you feel like you guys got less negative reviews by dropping them there versus just throwing them out into the driveways and all, because I think that that's a powerful thing, dropping them next to the mailbox. And I also think that would help you if a review does come. you can say we're not allowed to put it in the mailbox, so we dropped it beside the mailbox so
Right.
that it would be right there for you to do. You could
Yep.
still do the apology tour thing, but I think that that goes a lot further than if you threw it out in the grass or even in the driveway. Where, see, the problem with the driveway for me is that if I'm pulling into my driveway, I don't want to run it over. I don't know what it is, right?
I mean, that's exactly what I said, 20 minutes ago. If I was
Mhm.
going to do it, exactly how I would do it. I would
Right.
literally place it right in the grass beside the mailbox there,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
see what Dave, and I know Dave and Pat. I mean, they're good buddies, and they do a lot of work together. I mean, Dave was manning Pat's booth, a lot of times up there at Gutter Butter at the
Lovely,
huge
yep.
convention, and I mean, it's obviously worked. This is why it's not my job to sit here and say, or Doug's job to say, oh, that won't work. That won't work as far as the marketing, because guys, there are people out there doing $99 specials that, believe it or not, are killing
They're
it.
killing it.
I mean, and
Absolutely.
does anybody ever really pay $99? No, they don't. It's not something that I would do, but there are many, many, many,
Sometimes they're
many
just bleeding.
paths
That's it.
to get to success out here. But I think, and Dave, you're 100% right. I mean, if you're just out here just tossing them out there willy-nilly out there, yeah, you stand the chance of hacking somebody off.
I still say Dave looks so much like Brandon. It's not even funny.
He really does. He really,
He
really
really
does.
does.
He kind of little doppelgangers of each other.
Yeah.
Truth, Wild West is saying, or you're saying, hey to Wild West.
Hey.
ROI is the key, Jeff. 100%.
Mhm.
Yep. Your return on investment, and that's what.
And this is where I was saying, look at his next comment too. The risk of bad reviews from the trash left on the lawn.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I was saying too. You have to weigh those rewards, right? So that's where Jeff is absolutely right. Going the EDDM route might be a lot better in the long run because of the loss of the negative reviews. You're not typically going to get negative reviews from sending out EDDM
from sending out a postcard,
where you will get it from throwing something in somebody's yard.
And I want to go with that too, right here, though, and experience, and Gene, low percent return until third round. And that right there is part of advertising 101, Gene, because, they say you need like 3 exposures over a 90-day period to actually build consumer retention with you. I
believe it's like 5 touches to get somebody to actually do something.
Actually remember who you are, but there's a formula to get that on there. So, I always felt like with the door hangers, if you just door hung a neighborhood once, it's pretty much a gigantic waste. But whenever you're hitting that neighborhood monthly out there, and then getting a random one on a 5 around whenever you're doing it, or a 25 around, now you're actually building and you're creating, memories. And Mike Hockman, hey Mike, how are you doing, buddy? Hadn't seen you at a Coon's age. Still
a lot of this too. Just if you're going to be like, if you've got nothing to do on and I'm going to say a weekend or a weekday, like let's say for example, you are out doing sales on a Monday, and you happen to know that the kids are out of school that particular day. Why not drive through the neighborhoods that you generally frequent or where you already have jobs scheduled? And the reason for that is, again, it is about brand awareness, right? So if you're going to do your 5 arounds, okay, you do your 5 arounds around the house that you're going to be cleaning, right? And to me, you do it before you actually do the cleaning, and then you do it after you've done the cleaning, kind of a thing. But then driving through that neighborhood, because you want people to always be seeing and recognizing, hey, that was that spray wash truck. Hey, that's that Cajun soft wash. Hey, that's that Cajun soft wash. Hey, that's that, that's what builds that brand. And then it locks it in there for them.
Yeah, 100%. When you door hangers, made a rule to at least knock or ring doorbell, create a face-to-face. 100%. You know what? If you guys are not comfortable with the face-to-face, get comfortable with the face-to-face. Go to Toastmasters. Get out there and practice your public speaking. Get out there and find a reason to get up in front of people and get comfortable with the face-to-face.
as I'm always saying, when you go to the gas station, you don't know these people, especially if you're not in your truck or you're not in, you're not in your uniform, whatever. Just strike up a conversation with the person beside you that's pumping gas. How's your day today? Just get used to talking to people, and that is how you do it. Wherever you go, you just, hi, how are you doing today? Even if you're, hi, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
Right. Get yourself to the point where you start off, you're like, hi, how are you doing today? Hi, how are you doing today? Hey, how are you doing today?
Yeah. Think of strike up conversations,
Yeah.
So Perry is going to add up HOCL, sanitizing air, added to the agenda, and Quats arterial. I agree. What's up, David? How are you?
Mr. Rivers.
People having trouble talking to customers. Just be yourself. Tell the truth. Customers that trust in you is what they're looking for.
Michael, I'm going to tell you what, I cannot stress how in today's day and age, I mean, first of all, I'm just not a guy that lies. I don't believe in it. I don't, whatever. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't ever have to remember anything because my memory sucks to begin with. But if I start telling lies and stories and all that, then I have to remember what it is that I said. And I never want to do that. And I think a lot of customers can see through some of that until they get up to a certain age and then they start forgetting those kinds of things, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I think people start seeing through the BS, and all you got to do is be yourself and just be 100% honest and genuine, and you'd be surprised at how far it can go. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know the answer to that. Let me find out. Let me get that for you. I've never done that before, but I'll get it. And I'm a member of different groups and organizations. I'll figure it out. I'll get it. I'll get the right solution for you. People want to help people.
I don't know hold on. I don't know is a horrible answer to customers, but I don't know, but I will research this and get you an answer is a 100% completely acceptable answer to
as long as you do what you said.
As long as you do that too, you've got to do the follow-up.
You have to follow up.
It's incumbent on you to act, and it gives you another reason to reach out and touch the customer. 100%.
I can tell you that there were several times, especially when I started out in business long time ago, where I would say, yeah, let me research or whatever, but I would get too busy and then I would forget. That's one of the reasons that I write things down. And then the customer would call me, hey, did you ever research X, Y, and Z? Oh man, I know, I totally forgot. Let me do that now. You'd be surprised how many times they're waiting for you to call them back with whatever that research is and with what the findings of that research happens to be.
Mm-hmm. Here I feel like I'm plateaued trying to figure out my next move. I feel like I could do more if I had someone on the truck without me. Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the one thing that every one of us are blessed and granted with. The great equalizer is not money. The great equalizer is time. And until you figure out the force majeure, the force multiplier, where you can multiply the time that you have in a day to where you can create billable hours, you have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So until you can remove yourself from the truck and get yourself on, if you'd want to be off the truck, good. But if you want to be off the truck, then don't, But, for me, it was always, several people have been asking me about this recently in the store. And because, there's people out there that, they've been in business for 1 or 2 years and they talk about having 3 trucks and they're doing, they're utilizing their company at only about, because let's establish it. A truck is going to do between $200,000 to $300,000. That's what a truck is capable of doing. And let's just go ahead and call that $250,000. So if you're running a 3-truck operation, you should be doing about $750,000. You know what? When Spray Wash was running 3 trucks, guess where we were? $750,000. When we were running a 4-truck operation, guess where we were? $1 million. I mean, it's amazing how those numbers actually tend to work, and there's some truisms in this company. Now, there's obviously going to be some people that do less, and there's obviously going to be some people that do more out there. Some of those are the ones that are doing more. A lot of those are the specialty acts that we talked about with prostitution and pressure washing. They pay more. But again, so you've got, and we never, I never went out there and hired and said, I'm going to put another truck on the road suddenly. It was, when I started out, it was me. Then it was me. Then I hired a helper. Okay, as I got busy after that first year, now I took helper and I said, hey, you feel like you can do this? If I got you somebody, yeah, boss, I can do this if you get me somebody. Okay, I'm going to get you somebody. So boom, I got somebody. Now I build another trailer. I take over that trailer, and I'm not working that trailer 5 days a week. I'm working that trailer at start with 1 day a week, then 2 days a week, those other 3 days a week. And then I kept up. Next thing I know, I'm working this trailer 4 days a week. Now I hire, so I've got these two guys running this trailer over here, and now I hire somebody else over here. So now I've got, me and helper and helper and helper. And we keep expanding that way. And then Tanya all of a sudden comes along. And now, we're really starting to explode out there. But it wasn't just build a rig, hire some guys, and hope for the best. I mean, you tend to need to grow into your expansion on this until you get over that $750,000 level, and you've got the extra income coming in, and you can afford to kick back and grow into a truck. But if you're trying to start off with 1 truck, 2 truck, 3 truck immediately, and you don't have the income coming in, it's a real easy way to bankrupt.
And one of the ways that I grew my company when I very first started, first of all, I didn't have money. Second of all, I didn't have any employees. And I needed to figure out a way to make the two work. And so I went to a temp organization, and I hired from them every single day that I needed somebody, right? That way, if I didn't have a job that day, I also didn't have payroll that day, because now it costs more because the temp agency has to make their money, but they're taking care of all the workers' comp, they're taking care of all the paperwork, blah, blah, blah. And I was setting the rate of which I wanted to pay. Now, and again, it ends up costing you more, but does it? In the long run, I was able to build my company until I could afford to bring somebody on as a full-time payrolled employee and train them. And then one of the things, especially in today's market, I encourage you to hire 2 when you're only looking for 1, because the odds are in today's market, a lot of times both of them fail, which I think part of it is in the hiring process. But think about that when you go to that hiring phase, when you start heading into that next market avenue, is that you do have the temp agencies out there that can help you with, while you're training one guy to be your lead tech. You can just hire a temp guy to be there and spray water if that's,
the crazy thing is, whenever you go to a temp agency, guess what? They're covered by workers' comp there. Yep. You don't have to have workers' comp. They're covered by insurance, Mm-hmm. It's kind of nice. Around me, the Kieran's, obviously your company. So here's one. I was told by a company here that we are high. I'm assuming are high. I replied, I don't want to work harder. I sell value. It's not my fault that y'all have 6 trucks going and underbidding the others in the area so you can feed them. Now, again, you sell your own value on that. And there's certain things about this. I mean, I agree and I think I understand what you're saying, but I want to give you another perspective as well. So whenever you're an owner operator, or you have a couple of techs working for you, you need to work at that, whatever it is, let's say $120, $150 an hour. That math would be easier for me. Now, if I'm a company that had 6 trucks, and I never had 6, I had 5, but I can actually afford to work at a lower rate. In fact, not only can I afford to, sometimes I may need to, because I've got anywhere between 5 to 10 people on the payroll. I need to keep them busy. So we might actually be working for a lower rate. Again, too, there's an issue of equipment. You may have people that work more efficiently, And then you may also have, I mean, you might have, okay, I've got about 8-gallon a minute machines or 5.5s that are perfectly tuned in. And then there could also be a level of quality. And I still think sometimes the pressure washing guys are the worst about delivering too much quality.
You know, I can tell you, I have a very similar story for you, and that was when I was a home and building inspector, and I've told this story before, where we would have ASHI meetings, the Association, the American Society of Home Inspectors. We would have our monthly meetings, whatever, and there was one guy that was twice, if not more, priced than the rest of us. All of us were maintaining, the 250 range for a house inspection. This is 30 something years ago. And he would be 450, 550 on a home inspection, and we used to make fun of the guy, right? Because he's more than double what we're charging. He's working half as much, and at one point we all kind of confronted him at one of the meetings, and he just kind of chuckled, and it taught me a very valuable lesson, because he said, you know what, I work less than you guys do by half. I work half as much as you guys do, and I make more than you do.
Yeah.
So where am I going wrong? You tell me. So both of us have, I mean, you can work for that lower dollar, and you can work more, and you can be happy with that. And or you could be like him, where he's working for way more.
There's not a right or a wrong answer. There's not a right or a wrong answer. You know how many government bids I've gone to, and I can show you guys bids from government contracts that are just so ridiculous. Like, example, Doak Campbell Stadium, and I can share this. This isn't breaching confidentiality, but back in my spray wash days, we were typically about $70,000 for that stadium. There would be guys. I mean, guys come into Power Wash store, and I'll sit there and show old bids to them and stuff. Show the old bid sheets prior to us getting acquired by Crystal Clean, and there would be guys that would bid $200,000 for this job, and other state bids that we had bid on where we'd be at $50,000 when there'd be a guy that would bid $185,000, $200,000 for that job. Well, question. So they're sitting there managing state bids. They're watching state bid lists that come out. How many of those do they have to? I mean, who's smarter? I'm probably going to win more of those, but they're going to get the occasional one that I don't get to go bid on for whatever reason.
And they're bidding from wherever they're at.
Here's a great example. 2 years ago, there were Doak Campbell bid, Florida State University at the walk around. I want to say there was 12 companies there that were eligible to bid. Last year, spring of 2022, this year, spring of 2022, there were 3 companies that were there at the walk around on it, So you had whoever bid this year had a 33 1/3% chance of winning it. The year before that, you had less than a 10% chance of winning it.
You also have to remember that there are different.
Do it, yes, 100%. Have a decent flyer made. Have a decent rat card. Call Tim Fields and get something a ridiculously nice but simple and effective. Tim Fields, I mean, he can do it. Keith at KBK. Ryan, what's Ryan's name?
Fetterman.
Fetterman. Who was it we talked to at the huge convention that was right at the end cap on there?
Kettering.
Ryan Kettering. Yeah. I mean, any of these guys, they can do this. It's hell. Go to Fiverr and get something done.
You guys have to remember too, when you look at these bids and stuff, where especially we're talking pricing, and you're talking about the stadium and all that, right? We had some bids in downtown Baton Rouge, and when I did the math on it, I needed to be at about $2.5 million in order to be profitable at the way that they had it written. Yeah. But I already knew that the bids were going to come in at around $450,000. Yeah. And so you sit there and you say, well, how can that add up? Because they were going to come in with $16.50 an hour guys with pressure washers. They already had them there on another building, and that's all they're doing, right? 2 guys just on a swing stage pressure washing the building, and the building that they were on, I think, was 5 stories. But that's what they were going to do. So they knew that their cost for two guys, you know, $16.50 an hour plus and then the swing stay, wasn't costing them that much. So at $450,000, they were going to make probably 200 grand for the year, and all they were doing was shuffling paperwork. That's how some of those work.
Yeah.
And that's what you're bidding against sometimes. And you just have to either accept that or reject it. Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Joe's 100% right here too. Fine cleaning on a Saturday can bring a lot of attention because people are home in most working neighborhoods. And whenever you get out there and you put your tent signs out there and you really look on point and you don't look like a bleached bandit with cut off jorts and, you know, you look the part and look professional. It's amazing how good. I still remember, you know, I remember booking a job. I was in a neighborhood and I had hoses stretched across and I had a cone out over there and I'm looking and I see a guy coming down here. He's literally got a cane and the glass is on and he's walking and he's blind, legally blind. And I remember running out there and saying, hello. And I turned my pump off and I was like, hi, sir. I said, I'm Ray. I own Spray Wash. I said, I'm pressure washing this house and I've got hoses drug across this sidewalk here. I said, can I help you, you know, in this area? Would that be okay? Absolutely. Grab my hand, you know, and he had his cane and I said, okay. I said, now, all right, you're stepping, you're getting close and you're just going to step over a couple of hoses right here. I still remember actually getting a job from one of the neighbors who was sitting there. He goes, I saw what you did, you know, with Fred. Fred's our resident blind guy. And that was really, really nice.
They were super appreciative.
I am thinking deep down in my mind, I'm like, I just didn't want to get sued by causing, you know, a blind guy to trip. And I'm a nice guy. But I wound up getting the neighbor's house because they were literally looking out their window and seeing me help a blind guy over my hoses out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
pay attention to your
watch,
surroundings.
you know, just like, you know, with the pictures we have in PPP about, you know, the Tyvek. You think the neighbors notice whenever you stretch Tyvek out over all their
hedges? We put Tyvek out sometimes when we didn't need to, just because it caused people to look. Tommy in
too.
trouble again.
Oh, Tommy's been doing people hell over there in pressure washing 101, buddy. Love it. That is a very prescient man right there. Knocking the door, listening, leaving hangers, not an issue, just so you know. And you're right, Gene. There are some neighborhoods that say no soliciting. Brenda, you were shy until my income depended on me talking and smiling.
And that's actually a powerful statement Brenda's making. Yeah. Until her income depended on it, right? And so you got to think about that. When you're in business for yourself, your income depends on you being able to talk to people and to, you know, break yourself out of that shell and understand that breaking yourself out of that shell equates to money. It equates to dollars. It equates to sales.
You know, and yeah, I mean, it's crazy here in Florida. I don't know, you know, Doug, you and I have talked so little lately that it's kind of crazy. I feel like I'm missing me some Doug, but, you know, we're usually a 3-4 time a week people. We've both been busy, though. You know, our weather has changed up here in North Florida, and I keep telling everybody, oh, no, this isn't going to last. This is a tease. But, I mean, shit, we've been waking up in the mornings. Now, we're still in the 80s in the afternoons, but, yep. I mean, we're at 55 in the mornings. Guys, understand it's getting really, really close. The season is coming to an end. You need to, at this point, if you are in the pressure washing industry, you need to make as much money and close every deal as you can right now, because we can all sit here and do the.
Doesn't mean sell yourself cheap, though. That's not.
No, it does not mean that. But it's saying you need to get out there and work it right now. Mm-hmm. You know, this is I was extremely blessed with what we did. We had a lot of commercial accounts that really helped us along. We were fantastic at what we did. However, you know, you'd go from April, May, $150,000 months right there. Our slowest month of the year's August and February. January, the stuff we were getting in January was really from new commercial budgets that sprung up that ran on a calendar year out there. Not necessarily homeowners, residential homeowners. So commercials.
January and February were our bad months.
What's that?
So January and February were our bad months. December, we didn't do all that great because we took, a good half the month off, but we did really good because the first half of the month we were all commercial. And so we did really well. So even though December, we only worked half the month, we still made our quota for the month most of the time.
Pick one.
And the next comment that Michael makes I think is key.
It's incredible. And Dean's comment right here is amazing as well. 100%. And what Michael says, I love washing when I'm selling. My average ticket skyrockets. Yes.
That means you need to sell it. Get somebody running your truck and you go sell.
Anybody that's any business owner that's watching this that says, but yeah, I wash better than anybody else, then you know what? You should go and get a job as a washer, because that's not really your job as a business owner to be washing. Your job is to be selling and marketing and managing your company. I could even say that your job isn't to sell your company. You could technically hire that out. I don't think there's anybody that's going to sell it better necessarily than you are. But you're the person that's in charge of your company. There's an
old saying that goes along with, when do you make money? You make money when you make a purchase. Okay. That's so in the sales game, that's the old saying. Your money is made when you buy something, not necessarily when you sell something, right? In the service industry, it's kind of the same thing. You make money based on when somebody else is buying something. So you are selling at that point, right? So their purchase is what is making you money. So especially if you're really good at it, because I'm the same way. My sales go through the roof when I am out there and I'm the one that's physically selling to that person, and my average ticket is higher, all of that, right? That's another reason that I got off the truck, because I'm like, look, I can make $25 an hour spraying a house, or I can make $300 an hour selling it and letting somebody else spray the house.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So I used to have customers, and I would sit here and say, I would be out to my estimates and doing the walk around with the customers, and they'd be like, so are you going to be here washing my house? And I'm looking and saying, oh my God, I'm the worst person in the world to wash your house. Why would you want me? I am old, I am fat, I am slow. Look at this. I've got to spend 20 minutes putting sunscreen on this head, so I don't blister. I said, I've got, crews, I've got crews that have been with me for 7, 8 years that are some of the highest trained in North Florida, if not the whole industry, that are better than I will ever be. I'm good at identifying the problem. I'm good at telling them how to do it. I'm good at the customer service and the follow-up. But as far as the actual guy that's going to spray your property down, you don't want me to do that.
I can tell you, Michael, the same. You're running into the same issues that I ran into, right? I would pull up on a job site and I would ask the guys, "Are you done?" And they would say, "Yeah, well, we think we are, but we're going to wait to see what you say." And the homeowner would be like, "Oh man, this is great. This is great. This is awesome. I love this. I love this." And then I would go around, "Yeah, but they need to fix this, 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 and that," right? And so then the guys would go and they would fix that. So that's a double-edged sword. And the reason that that's a double-edged sword is because everybody was happy, right? And so the guys could have left, they could have gone to another job, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, the customer was absolutely more thrilled because I found and I was nitpicking and I was taking care of them, which helped me grow my company. But turning it over and letting them do it, once you get to the point where you trust them and they have to know what your quality standards are, that's where you start making your money, is them knowing your quality standards. And this is where I think my bonus program is another great example, because for me, it costs the technician money for doing it wrong. Okay. Or for messing something up. Instead of it costing me money, it costs my technician money. I can set my standards and I can train them and teach them on what I want to see. Okay. Do I have to accept less? Probably. But then again, I'm going to tell you what, I got guys under me that would, just like Ray's saying, doing a better job than me and owning the work that they do. Okay. And same thing with me for many, even after I sold the company, they're still there. Okay. Yep. And they're moving up the ladder even as the company's growing.
And I think we're kind of saying the same thing on here, but I want to equate it to, like, let's go front pool. You know, you've got some grout and the grout's clean. I mean, and you deliver that customer a solid 10 on the cleaning. And you've been down there with a scrub brush or a toothbrush scrubbing out grout lines because you think you can get them a little bit whiter out there. Everything's rinsed down. You're like, oh, you know what? I got some muriatic acid in the truck. And you're dipping the toothbrush in the muriatic acid, you know, and you're like, okay, bring it over here. Let's rinse it out there. And the customer comes around doing a walk. Oh, that looks nice. Thank you. And it's like, but you realize I scrubbed your grout lines.
You know, those extra work.
I literally got, it looks nice. Thank you. No, screw you. It doesn't look nice. I busted my butt on this thing. I gave you an absolute
amazing.
And this looks nice. It's way past nice. It looks freaking incredible. This is where we have to understand that most of our customers are really, and I'm not saying scrimp, I'm not saying don't deliver great results, but we usually make such a profound difference that they're thrilled in our minds what would be an 8. We're not selling to ourselves. We're selling to the customer. And remember, you're selling to a customer, not to yourselves, because whatever makes me happy might take 3 hours longer than what makes the customer happy. And that's where what I mean by that, Michael.
And trust me, I still have identity issues with that to this day, right? I want to make sure it's a 100% good, thorough, done job. You know,
and 100%. And I know how you are, Chick. I mean, you know, you're right. It's very tough to sit there and do it. But sometimes you have to realize that going the extra mile takes you another 40 minutes on the race there, and you could have won the race, but you decided to double back and do extra. That's also part of the intuition that you have to understand. What's this customer going to expect out there? Tommy always works on weekends. We did too. I mean, Fridays.
The only weekend work I did was commercial because residential.
Fridays were our day off, and we typically reserved our weekends for commercial. But there were some. We did some residential, but it would be a special residential in a really good neighborhood. We had a reason for doing it then.
Yeah, I didn't do any. I mean, it would have to be something special to do residential on the weekend.
Tommy, you were awesome in there on that. You know, Tom got all up on somebody in pressure washing 101, and he wasn't incorrect about it, you know, at all. I mean, he just told somebody the way it was. You're not soliciting unless you're selling something. When you're not going to the door, all you say you're introducing yourself to the neighborhood. 60 degrees
is nice.
Yes, it is. Thank you. I have not seen this name before, and thank you very much for watching us. We appreciate it. All right, Josh. What is Josh saying? I want to see this.
Josh says he's an attorney.
We actually I said no soliciting. Clip flyer handle is not soliciting this information. You're not selling. If you want the door, trigger the knock on the door, watch the driveway. Now you're soliciting. I don't know. I mean, you know what? Maybe, you know, I don't know. What's somebody going to do? I mean, is somebody going to, so what is, and here's another thing too. I mean,
I think on that side of it, if you're handing it to them, hi, just introducing myself, have a great day, you know, kind of a thing. So if they engage you, then that's something different. But yeah, once you entertain the sales side of it, I mean, once you breach that, then you're soliciting. I think either way, it's going to be seen as soliciting perception.
Yeah, I think no matter whether you're dropping off flyers or if you're actually knocking on the door,
Right.
technically it could be considered soliciting. I mean, really, I could look at it either way. Now, here's a question though for you. What is civil?
And do you want to get into the legal argument? I guess would be my point. Didn't mean
Yeah.
do you want to get into the legal argument when you say I'm not soliciting, I'm giving out a handbill?
Right.
I don't want that negative argument of, okay, well, we say you're soliciting. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to get a lawyer involved to say, no, I'm not soliciting.
I mean, the police going to come? No. No. I mean, no. I mean, because is this, is it an actual law that says no soliciting? I guess there could be, but in Golden Eagle, that clearly says on their gatehouse, no soliciting. If you were to go and start knocking on doors, security would come and remove you from the neighborhood. But are you going to get criminally, prosecuted with police in there? No, because I don't think there's a lot of laws against, even if the neighborhood says no soliciting, it might be a civil issue. And they say, okay, we're going to trespass you from the neighborhood, or we're going to sue you.
And that would be the worst. If you got trespassed from the neighborhood where you're not allowed to come back.
So if you got, what's the damages? Okay, let's say somebody said, I'm going to sue you. Okay, sue me. What are the damages by me knocking on your door? I mean, probably nothing on there.
But at the same time, like you said, if you are in a neighborhood and you get trespassed from that neighborhood, and they tell you not to come back, they don't want your trucks in that neighborhood, that would be a really bad
thing. That would suck for you. That really would, And Tommy is 100%. The bad information that's being given out here is going to get someone killed. I totally agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I'll never forget the debate that I got in with the $99 dude that time. And I said, look, and he got all butthurt because I said, look, he's got this Chevy S10, his stealth rig that he called it. And right at the tail, you had to literally lean over to switch the unloader, and it had a meat grinder belt system with no guard on there. And I wasn't I try not to be a huge jackass. I mean, I really don't. But I said, look, you may want, even though I am, but I try to gently introduce
in a
people
professional way.
I try to gently introduce people into the asshole that I am. I can be an asshole. But I said, you might want to consider putting a guard over that belt, because if OSHA would see, your employees using that, well, my employees are smart enough not to stick their fingers in the belt,
That wasn't that long ago.
It doesn't matter if they were smart enough or not, but if it was somebody had a sleeve hanging down and went to change the unloader and caught in there, and all of a sudden they're being called nubby, you know what? You're going to be paying several $100,000 in attorney's fees, in workers' comp, and to OSHA because you did not have the clear guards installed, And it wasn't me calling him out going, oh, you're a jackass for not doing that. It's like, no, you may want to consider having the guards installed on there. And
whether you like it or not, a lot of
this was a dude that used to brag about, I can shoot 60 foot and blah, blah, blah. And here's my box truck, and I've got 17 275-gallon totes in my box truck, and we do house washings for $99. Okay, I'm probably giving too much information.
There you go.
You can find us at housewashings.com. But I'll never forget, just what a jackass he was about, just me saying. And we even got into a debate one night, and he's like, "Oh, you're a fraud. You're not as big as you." And literally, I'm coming in from a night shift at 2 a.m. and I was like, "Here's a live of my office. Here's a live of my 5 rigs. Oh, that's all made up." Yeah, you're right. That's completely made up.
You got to remember that on a lot of these things, sometimes they make these rules to protect us, and all that when we don't need the protection. But one of the stories that I have along that lines, I built some log homes, and I very specifically, so I built a log staircase and big log handrail going down, and the rail was about, this big around of a log, which was bigger than what was legal, right? And there was a nub on the end and all this kind of thing. And I told the homeowner that because even though it was a spec home, I sold it before I finished it. Anyhow, long story short, I said, okay, well, I have to put an actual handrail on here because this does not meet the code, the requirements. And she said, no, I don't want that on there. I don't want that on there, right? Same thing you're saying with the guard on there. Okay. When the inspector came out, the inspector's like, okay, well, I got to gig you on not having the railing. And I already knew, and him and I had already had the discussion ahead of time. She's at the top of the railing and she says, yeah, I was going to say something because the other night when I was coming down, I tripped and I tried to grab and I almost missed because it wasn't the right size rail. And I'm like sitting there thinking, oh my God, I had to go through this and this could have already been dealt with. So sometimes it isn't about what you believe. And he's like, my guys aren't stupid enough to reach in there. Accidents happen. And that's why that guard is supposed to be there.
That's right. That's right. That's why they have rules about what you can wear. That's why you can. I still remember, a very humbling experience that, I had. My guy showed up. We're in Florida. One of my first big industrial jobs that I got, it was down in Gainesville, Florida, outside of Gainesville, Florida. And we showed up on a Friday afternoon, and our plan was to start working on, Friday afternoon. We showed up, and I had been down there. And, the plant manager looked at me and he says, what are you guys doing? I said, well, we're stretching out to start working. He said, not like that. And I said, well, yes, sir. What's wrong? He said, you signed off, that you would apply all the OSHA regulations. And I said, yes, sir. He said, well, you understand, and so we're there and they didn't even make Huck boots at that time, but we're there in our shorts that we usually wear and closed-toed tennis shoes. And he says, no, this is, OSHA says you're going to have this, and this. And this is back in 2012, probably 2012, 2013. And this was a $18,000 job. And it was kind of a big deal to me. It was one of my first industrial jobs. And again, I said, this is where I need to understand this better, and where I started getting a lot more familiar with the actual rules, because there's not a lot of rules, particularly in the pressure washing industry. There's a lot of rules in the general industries that we forget. OSHA doesn't necessarily write rules for pressure washers. They write rules for the general industry. And part of the OSHA rules are the protection. And they took that, and sometimes it may not be what we take it as, but what our customer takes it as. And it was steel-toed boots, it was long pants, and it was long sleeve shirts. And so we wound up all going to Walmart in Gainesville, Florida, and then driving back up to Alachua to do this chemical facility, and with the brand new sets of Dickie uniforms out there, because that's what he required of us. That was his interpretation of the OSHA rules out there. So I want to bounce back and forth between these two, because this is beautiful. Brenda, it's very clear up here. Knocking is solicitation. You can get fined for it. Okay. Gene, we're always soliciting. If you don't cheat, you don't eat. And you know who's right? Both of them.
Yeah.
And it's your tolerance for risk. It's your.
And we obviously don't know who that G is. That we don't know.
No idea. G, no idea. So.
Absolutely.
But and it is. Brenda, you're right, and Gene, you're right. Absolutely.
Have you ever broken a rule in your life, Ray?
You mean tonight?
Yeah. Within the last half hour, of course.
It is.
first of all, there's so many rules out there that you don't even know you're breaking rules.
It is very tough. And whenever you start getting into the OSHA rules and stuff, I mean, it almost takes a compliance person like Michael Draper. And that's a service that Michael Draper actually offers with the Expert Safety Services, where you can have him on retainer, and he will go and check out the company, and he does that for dozens, hundreds of companies, where he's like kind of basically not just in the pressure washing industry. PWNA, for example, Michael Draper is the education director for PWNA. People don't understand quite what a resource he is for PWNA, and a pretty amazing resource, because he's one of the smartest guys. And there are dozens of companies that have him on a retainer every month that say, okay, are we doing okay on our safety program here?
Mm-hmm. So Bert is asking, go back and finish that one. What is your policy in regards to jewelry? I'm an anti-jewelry guy. There's very few things that were allowed to be worn. No necklaces, things like that. I don't allow that. I would allow, a single set of earrings. I have some guys with singles. Depends on the size. I wouldn't allow anything that's going to get hung up on something. For me, I require respirators. So, that respirator coming off and on kind of a thing. For me, that's all a no-go. Wedding rings are cool, that kind of thing. But big no-no on most jewelry or anything dangling, hanging, wristwatches, none of that. Don't go for any of it.
Yeah. Nose piercings, nothing, dangling here. But that's one of the things where you just have to be, it has to be safe. I mean, it can't be, and I would never typically hire the guys that would wear the chains outside of the shirts and things like that. Or, if I tell them, you may want to tuck that in because this bleach is going to tarnish that, because guarantee it's not real gold, or silver, typically speaking. So.
Well, and during the hiring process, if they're wearing that stuff, I mean, we discuss it. You can't, won't allow, none of that kind of stuff. So. Same thing with smoking, right? I don't allow smoking on the job, though I would allow it at the truck or at the end of the driveway.
Well, I had customers that would not allow smoking on their campuses, and it's like, okay, if you go across the street and smoke, on your break, and you can't even smoke in the truck, here, and it's a violation. It's not even a rule that I have necessarily. But the campus will get kicked off this campus if you're sitting here smoking. They have a no tobacco policy on here. And then we would also say, I really don't want you smoking at my customer's house, because, it doesn't look good. It's not a good optic, frankly.
I'm just realizing this has been one of our longest lives.
We're damn near 2 hours, aren't we? God, it didn't seem like it. Just kind of bam. And hey, I'm gonna give a thumbs up to Michael. He's just been all over it tonight. And you didn't hog the conversation at all. We appreciate the feedback and the discussions on it.
It's all good discussion points.
Oh yeah, 200 gallons a minute. 100 washes a day. Yeah, you remember. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Unless you're Gene. See, we have Gene blocked, so he has to come in as Facebook user. I have no idea why you always come through that.
You have to sign up. What he's watching it in Pro, because we broadcast this thing on multiple platforms. He's in Pro, and he didn't sign up in Pro and relog himself. If he went in there in his normal thing, but because we have this thing in a lot of places, so. Oh, Doug, you know what? I think it's a good time for us to wrap this thing up. And it's been another just amazing time. And I appreciate you. And I'm glad
Don't forget, we'll talk with Perry Tate next weekend or next month.
Still around, we'll get up with you. Oh, man. What a Monday. I love Mondays. Mondays are always fun at the Power Wash store. Thank you, guys. We appreciate y'all. See ya. And hold on, we are